I so love, is sometimes just of the sort of benign character, such as, I have left out one brother, Berry, but I never liked him, so why should I write about him? I like that. And the second, speaking in mind also, is this little quotation from the book. Sorry, I just got to get these. This relates to anti-Semitism in Australia, but this is a comment Judy makes on a letter. She hadn't included this in the letter, but this is the comment she makes. The following words are not in the letter I wrote to Hungary, as my parents would have been very upset if they had known. The owner of the shoe repair shop where I was supposed to learn how to repair shoes was a non-Jewish Hungarian. After working there for 2 or 3 days, he said to me, "This is not a job for your clever Jewish head." My answer, I am very glad to be in Australia because here I am at liberty to tell you that you are a bloody anti-Semite, a racist pig. Well, I presume B.Y is bloody. Judy is far too much the lady to write it, but I'm not too much the gentleman to say it, unless, of course, it is a Hungarian word, even more graphic. So, a bloody anti-Semite racist pig. Yes, I am Jewish, and you are right, this job is not for me because I can do much more with my head than you can. Now that's pretty gutsy. That's pretty gutsy. But sometimes this outspokenness is just really heroism, and bravery, and although Judy doesn't claim that, it certainly is. So I want to read you this extract, which shows utter bravery, and also such goodness of heart. One memory, this is in Bergen-Belsen. One memory is of my one and only little triumph. One day, when as usual we had to stand outside the barrack on ice, the children suffered terribly. They cried and cried. There was absolutely nothing we could do, so we cried with them. Finally, after many hours, we were allowed to go into the ice-cold barrack. A few minutes later, one of the German soldiers came in. I had a little boy crying in my arms and was trying to pacify him. I got so angry when I caught sight of the German, I could not control myself. My knowledge of German at the time was good, so I said to him that what was happening was pure torture and how terrible they were, that we adults could stand it if we must, but this innocent little child was suffering. I asked him if he had a family. He said yes, he had a little son, just like the one I was holding. I don't know why I did it or how I had the gall to do it, but I threw the boy into his arms and asked how would he feel if his son was going through this. He caught the boy, who stopped crying from the shock of being thrown to the German like a ball. I said all sorts of things because I was angry and I didn't consider the consequences. The German was also surprised and gently gave the boy back to me and left without a word. Half an hour later he returned and ordered loudly that from now on only the adults had to go outside. The children were not permitted to leave the barrack area. So that was the only good thing I accomplished for the little ones, but others thought I was quite heroic. Honestly, I was not. I was just so angry I could not contain myself. But I think it is heroism. I'm sure you would agree. And one little chink of happiness you brought. One little chink. But that was such a marvellous action. So, whether you're not including Berry because you didn't like him, or you're standing up to the German, there's different phases of your feistiness, but it's all really of the one thing. And God bless you for it. The optimism, of course, the other thing that runs through this, is so evident throughout the book, and particularly when escaping from Hungary, we're starting a new life, we're not looking back, and how you're going to make good in Australia. And that is so much the part of the migrant experience. So many of our migrants have had that positive attitude that we are going to make good, and consequently have enhanced Australia and made it a better place because of that attitude and the experiences that they brought with them. And that's very much Judy's story. Now, throughout the tale that she tells, there are a number of encounters with people important in the story which seem miraculous. You suddenly find someone you've been looking for. But the one I'm going to read is about Anna, about Punker. This is just a lovely tale from someone. Of course, how could Judy not endear herself to me? She says over and over again how much she loves books and was a great reader and actually worked in the Mitchell Library for a year. And she writes, yes, I always loved books and my parents gave me a lot to read. I think now is the time to mention my favourite, the most important book in my life, and it will explain your mother's rather unusual name, Punker. Is that the way you pronounce it? Punker. I would have been about 7 or 8 years old when I was given the book called Punker Messai. Yes, well. Punker's Stories by Maura Ferring. Punker was his daughter's name, and the book was all about her. Little stories about what Punker did, her sometimes naughty behaviour, and her childish sweet sayings. The illustrations were wonderful. It was then and there that I decided that when I grow up, I will have a daughter and she will be named Punker. In the book, Punker nearly swallowed hairpins, so my Punker never had a hairpin in her hair until she was about 10. Punker would have been about 18 months old when one day we were on the bus. She must have been naughty, and I said, just like other mothers, Punker, do be quiet. An elderly lady, probably my age now, asked, excuse me, what name did you say? I was a bit embarrassed and said, Punker. She said, where did you get that name from? I was even more embarrassed and told her that when I was a little girl, I had read Maura's book about Punker. The next moment, there were tears in the lady's eyes and she said, I am Maura Punker. It was my father's book you read and I am a grandmother now. How proud my father would be if he knew this story. And that is such a wonderful tale, but it seems to me, Judy, if I may say so, that your wonderful humanity attracts these sort of encounters where you do meet people long lost who you've wanted to meet. Isn't that amazing? What are the chances of that happening? Not very much at all. Sorry, I can't see my glasses. Now, the original, with the family background, and then with the original documents you include, helpfully, for people who don't speak Hungarian, I think it's very important, translated into English, you get the real feel of the times, which you can't get except from the original documents. Now, coupled with your optimism, are the endearing stories of those who revealed their humanity by helping against the odds. There's someone you call Popeye in the camp who turned out to be an American spy. And I think he ended up in the gas chambers, did he not, Popeye? No, he didn't. No, I got that wrong. But he was an American spy, and he had helped you. There was also the German officer after the occupation in Hungary who, I just read you the little bit because it is another touching vignette. Our next door neighbour, a high-ranking army officer, asked my father if he wanted to move our piano to his place for safekeeping. Then, when it was moved, he said in a loud voice so that other neighbours would all hear, "I want the piano, the Jew will not need it." On the same evening, the tailor came and my father ordered a beautiful fur-lined jacket for himself. Our friend happened to be having a cup of coffee with us behind closed doors, of course. He said to the tailor he wanted to try it on. He put it on, saying it is nice, it fitted him well, and he would take it, and he did.